Your name won't leave them alone, not in obvious ways, not through you being present, not through you contacting them or showing up in their life deliberately. You're gone, you're silent, you've moved on completely. But your name keeps appearing, keeps surfacing, keeps showing up in their life in ways that feel like universe is conspiring to remind them of what they lost. Someone mentions you casually in conversation, a mutual friend brings you up without knowing the weight your name carries. A place they visit turns out to be a place you frequent. A song you loved plays everywhere. A book you recommended appears in recommendations. Your favorite restaurant opens new location near their home. Everything seems to reference you. Everything seems to connect back to you. Your name is everywhere, despite your actual absence being complete. And every time your name comes up, they're destroyed all over again. Destroyed because each mention is reminder. Reminder that you existed, reminder that you mattered, reminder that they lost you. Reminder that loss was their choice. Reminder that you're out there living your life without them while they're stuck thinking about you. The reminders are torture. Our universe refusing to let them forget. Our existence itself making sure your name stays present even when you're physically absent. And presence through absence is worse than actual presence would be. Actual presence they could respond to, could try to fix, could attempt to restore. But absence with constant reminders is you being gone while simultaneously being inescapable, being unavailable while being everywhere. Being silent while your name speaks constantly in their life, through coincidence, through mutual connections, through the weird synchronicity that happens when someone matters enough that the universe seems to organize around reminding you they matter. The constant coming up of your name is destroying them because it won't let them move on. They're trying to move forward, trying to forget, trying to focus on their life without you in it. But your name appearing repeatedly is preventing the forgetting, is keeping you present, is making moving on impossible, because how can they move on when everything seems designed to remind them of you? When every day brings new mention, new reference, new connection to you that makes you impossible to escape from. The inescapability is prison. Is them being haunted by your name? By you. By what they lost. By consequence of their patterns that cost them person whose name universe won't let them forget. The specific ways your name keeps appearing and what each appearance does to them. Your name comes up through mutual friends who don't know the weight it carries. Someone mentions you did something interesting. Someone references something funny you said. Someone asks if they've talked to you lately. The casual mentions are devastating, because casual means you're just another person to the friend asking. Just normal topic of conversation. But to them, you're not normal topic. You're loaded topic. You're pain topic. You're regret topic, and having to respond casually to loaded topic is torture. Is them having to perform normalcy about you when nothing about you is normal to them? Is them having to pretend they're fine hearing your name when hearing your name is knife twisting in wound that hasn't healed? The performance is exhausting. Is them being reminded constantly that they have to hide how much you still affect them, have to hide how much your name being mentioned destroys them, have to act unbothered when they're completely bothered. Your name comes up when they hear you're doing well, friend mentions you got promotion, mentions you're seeing someone new, mentions you seem happy, mentions you're thriving. Each mention of your thriving is devastation. Is evidence you don't need them, evidence you're better without them. Evidence you've moved on completely while they're stuck unable to move on. The evidence destroys their secret hope that you are struggling too, that you missed them too, that you were waiting for them to come back. But thriving proves you're not struggling, not missing, not waiting. You're living. Fully living, and fully living without them is proof they weren't necessary, weren't important enough to prevent you from building beautiful life. The proof destroys them, makes them feel invisible, irrelevant, not mattering to person who still matters enormously to them. Your name comes up when people ask them about you. Ask how you're doing, ask if you're still together, ask what happened. The questions are innocent, are normal curiosity, but answering is torture. Is them having to explain the ending, having to take responsibility for rejection, having to admit they lost you, having to face judgment that comes with people learning they pushed away someone who was good to them. The judgment is in the silences, in the way people pause, in the sympathetic looks that hide confusion about why they'd reject someone like you. The judgment is mirror, is other people reflecting back what they already know, that they destroyed something valuable, that their patterns cost them someone rare. That loss was their fault. The reflection through others' judgment is humbling, is them being forced to see themselves through others' eyes, and others' eyes see person who made terrible mistake. Your name appears in recommendations. They're looking for something and your name appears. Book they're reading mentions author you loved. Music they're listening to includes artist you introduced them to. Place they're visiting was suggested by you. Everything traces back to you. Everything has your fingerprints on it. Your taste, your preferences, your influence shaped what they know, what they like, what they experience. And experiencing things you influence them toward is reminder of your impact, reminder that you shaped them, changed them, left marks on them that persist even after you left. The persistent influence is you living in their preferences, in their tastes, in their choices. You're absent, but your influence is present. And present influence from absent person is haunting, is them being unable to escape you because you're woven into who they've become. Why the constant appearance of your name is destroying their ability to move forward. Moving forward requires forgetting, or at least fading, requires memory becoming less sharp, requires missing becoming less acute, requires pain becoming more manageable. But your name appearing constantly is preventing the fading, is keeping memory sharp, is keeping missing acute, is keeping pain raw. Each appearance is reset button, is them being thrown back to beginning of loss, back to fresh pain, back to active missing. The constant reset is preventing healing, is making wound fresh repeatedly instead of letting wound close, is them being injured again before previous injury heals. The repeated injury is compound trauma, is accumulation of pain on pain, is them getting worse instead of better because better requires time without injury, and they're not getting time without injury. They're getting constant reminders that re-injure them daily. Your name appearing is also preventing them from idealizing the ending. Idealization is defensive strategy, is them telling themselves it wasn't that serious, you weren't that important, the ending wasn't that significant. The telling themselves allows them to minimize, to protect themselves from full weight of loss, but your name appearing constantly is destroying the minimization, is proving you were important, are important, was significant enough that universe is making sure they can't forget you. The proof destroys their defensive minimization, keeps loss at actual size, actual weight, actual significance, and actual size loss is heavier than minimized loss. Is them being forced to carry full weight of what they lost instead of being allowed to pretend it was lighter than it was. The constant appearance is creating obsessive focus. When your name comes up, they think about you for hours after. Wonder what you're doing. Wonder if you think about them. Wonder if they should reach out. Wonder if it's too late. Wonder if you'd respond. Wonder if door is still open or permanently closed. The wondering is obsessive, is intrusive, is consuming, is them being unable to think about anything else once your name appears. And name appearing daily means thinking about you daily, means being consumed daily, means unable to have single day free from you. And unable to be free is prison, is them being trapped in constant thinking about you that prevents them from thinking about anything else long enough to move forward, to build something new, to become someone different. They're stuck in loop. Loop of your name appearing, them thinking obsessively, them being unable to move forward. Repeat. The loop is permanent unless they break it. But breaking it requires either you disappearing from their orbit completely, or them doing significant work to process the loss instead of just reacting to constant reminders. Most can't do either. Can't make you disappear because you have mutual connections. Can't process loss because processing requires vulnerability they're still defended against. So loop continues, your name appears, they're destroyed again and again and again. What your name appearing is teaching them about their significance to you versus your significance to them. Your name appears, but you don't. You're not reaching out, not checking in, not making any effort to restore connection. The appearing without pursuing is teaching them something devastating. Teaching them they mattered to you less than you matter to them. They're obsessed with you, think about you constantly, are destroyed every time your name appears. But you're apparently fine, apparently moved on, apparently unbothered. The apparent unbotheredness is comparison. Is them seeing clearly that relationship was unbalanced, that they mattered to you less than you mattered to them, that losing them affected you less than losing you affected them? The comparison is humbling, is ego destruction, is them being forced to face they weren't as important as they thought they were, weren't as central to your life as you were to theirs, weren't as unforgettable as their ego needed them to be. But the teaching might be wrong, might be them misunderstanding your silence, You might be destroyed too, might be thinking about them constantly, might be as affected as they are, but maintaining boundary anyway, maintaining silence anyway, choosing not to reach out anyway. The might is something they can't know, can't verify, can only speculate about. And speculation is torture, is them unable to know whether your silence is you being unbothered or you being disciplined, whether you're not pursuing is you not caring or you protecting yourself. Whether you're moving on is genuine or performance, the not knowing is worse than knowing. Knowing you don't care would hurt but would be clear. Knowing you do care but are choosing yourself would hurt but would make sense. But not knowing is ambiguous torture, is them stuck between two possibilities, unable to determine which is true, unable to ask because asking would break your silence by forcing you to respond. So they stay in not knowing. In speculation, in constant wondering whether your silence is you being over them or you being strong enough to maintain boundary despite not being over them. Your name appearing is also teaching them about loss that can't be undone. Every appearance could be opening, could be opportunity to reach out, could be sign universe is telling them to contact you. But they don't reach out, can't reach out, are too defended, too proud, too scared, and not reaching out despite constant opportunities is teaching them they're unable to undo this loss, unable to be vulnerable enough to pursue you, unable to be brave enough to risk rejection. The inability is permanent limit, is them facing they lack capacity to fix what they broke, lack skills to restore what they destroyed, lack courage to try. The facing of limits is humbling, is them recognizing they're stuck between wanting you back and being unable to do what would be required to get you back. Stuck is torture, is them living in constant state of wanting without pursuing, missing without contacting, regretting without correcting. The stuck is permanent unless they change, unless they become brave. But becoming brave requires work they're not doing, so stuck continues. Your name appears. They want to reach out. They don't reach out. They hate themselves for not reaching out. Repeat. How they're interpreting the constant appearance as sign or punishment. Some interpret your name appearing as sign they should reach out. Sign from universe that you're meant to be in their life. Sign that connection should be restored. The interpretation as sign is them wanting permission, wanting external validation that pursuing you is right choice, wanting universe to take responsibility for decision they're scared to make themselves. The sign interpretation is defense against vulnerability. Is them wanting to pursue you, but only if universe says it's okay, only if appearing of your name is proof pursuing is right move. But universe doesn't give clear signs, just gives coincidences they're interpreting as meaningful. And interpreting coincidence as sign is defense, is them avoiding responsibility for choice while still wanting to make choice. The avoidance is cowardice, is them wanting you without being brave enough to pursue you without cosmic permission. Others interpret your name appearing as punishment, punishment for rejecting you, punishment for their patterns, punishment for losing someone rare. The interpretation as punishment is them believing universe is making them suffer, is forcing them to remember what they lost, is ensuring they can't escape consequence. The punishment interpretation is both self-awareness and victimhood. Self-awareness in recognizing they deserve consequence, victimhood in making the consequence something done to them rather than something they created. The mixed interpretation is them being half accountable, knowing they caused loss but framing the reminding as external punishment rather than natural result of losing someone who mattered in life that contains mutual friends, mutual places, mutual interests. The half accountability is progress from no accountability, but not full accountability. Full accountability would be recognizing your name appears because you existed in their life meaningfully, left impact, had connections, shaped things. And meaningful people don't just disappear, they leave traces, leave connections, leave reminders. Your name appearing is trace and meaningful person, not punishment from universe. But punishment frame is more dramatic, gives them victim status, makes loss something happening to them rather than something they created. The frame protects them while allowing them to suffer visibly, to perform suffering, to make suffering into identity. Some interpret appearance as test of whether they can handle hearing your name, whether they've moved on, whether they're over you. The test interpretation is them making each appearance into measurement, into assessment of their healing. Pass the test by being unbothered, fail the test by being destroyed. But test frame is false frame. Being destroyed by hearing your name isn't failing, it's just evidence you mattered. Evidence loss is real. Evidence healing takes time. But they interpret destruction as failure. As proof they're weak, as evidence they should be over you by now. The harsh self-judgment prevents healing, prevents them from being gentle with themselves about timeline, prevents them from accepting that meaningful losses take time to integrate. That your name destroying them is normal, not pathological. That being affected isn't weakness, is humanness. But test frame doesn't allow humanness, only allows passing or failing. And failing repeatedly is them being harsh with themselves, judging themselves, demanding healing speed that isn't realistic. The demanding false timeline is them being cruel to themselves about something that's already painful. Adding self-judgment to grief, adding should be over it to still missing you. The addition is making loss worse, making healing slower, making them suffer more than necessary because they're suffering from loss plus suffering from judging themselves for how they're suffering from loss. What they're discovering about themselves through your name haunting them, they're discovering they're more attached than they admitted. While you were there, while relationship existed, they minimized the attachment, minimized how much you mattered, minimized their caring. The minimizing was defense, was protection against vulnerability of admitting attachment. But your name appearing constantly is destroying the minimization, is proving attachment is deep, is real, is undeniable. They can't minimize what they feel when hearing your name, if hearing your name destroys them repeatedly. Can't pretend you didn't matter when clearly you matter enormously. Can't deny attachment when attachment is proven through their reaction to your name being mentioned. The discovery of attachment depth is humbling, is them facing they cared more than they let on, cared more than they showed, cared more than they were capable of expressing, and cared more than expressed is regret, is them wishing they'd shown it, wishing they'd admitted it. Wishing they'd been brave enough to be as attached as they actually were, instead of defending against the attachment through minimizing it. They're also discovering they lack control they thought they had. They thought they could decide to stop thinking about you, decide to stop caring, decide to move on through sheer will. But your name appearing is proving they can't control their thoughts, can't control their feelings, can't control their reactions. The lack of control is humbling, is destroying their belief in their own willpower, in their ability to manage internal experience through defended strength, is showing them they're human. Human means affected by loss, affected by reminders, affected by hearing name of person who mattered. The human limits are revelation, are them seeing they're not as powerful as they believed, not as controlled, not as defended against feeling. The seeing is destroying defended identity, identity built on control, on willpower, on not being affected, but they are affected, deeply affected, uncontrollably affected. And affected is truth that's destroying false identity of invulnerable person. Your name appearing is teaching them about impact they didn't acknowledge. They left marks on you, changed you, influenced you, but you left marks on them too, changed them too, influenced them too. The mutual impact is something they're discovering through your name being everywhere, through your preferences being their preferences, through your influence being their influence, through you being woven into who they've become. The discovery is them recognizing relationships change people, even defended relationships, even relationships they tried to minimize. You shaped them, and shape persists, and persistent shape is them carrying you, carrying your influence, carrying traces of who you were and what you taught them, and how you changed them. The carrying is evidence relationship was real, was meaningful, was significant, despite their defended minimizing. And evidence destroying their minimization is them facing they lost something real, something that shaped them, something whose shape they're carrying despite trying to convince themselves it didn't matter that much. The moments when hearing your name is most destructive, your name is most destructive when they're alone. When mentioned in public, they can perform being unbothered, can act like your name is just another name, can hide the devastation behind social performance. But when alone, when your name comes up in thought or memory or recommendation algorithm, the devastation is uncensored, is full weight without performance softening it, is them being destroyed completely without having to hide the destruction. The alone destruction is pure, is them experiencing full impact of hearing your name without social pressure to minimize the impact. The full impact is teaching them how much you still affect them, how much they still miss you, how much loss still hurts despite time passing. The teaching happens in private, in moments when defense is down, when they're just them facing truth without having to manage others' perception of them facing truth. Your name is most destructive when they're with someone new, when trying to date, when trying to move on through being with someone else. And your name comes up, or your memory comes up, or comparison happens, the new person says something that reminds them of you. Does something you used to do. Likes something you liked. Every similarity is comparison. Every comparison is you winning. New person isn't you, doesn't understand them like you understood them, doesn't have what you had. The comparison is them realizing they're looking for you in other people. Realizing they're measuring everyone against you. Realizing no one measures up. The realization is devastating in a specific way. Is them facing they're not over you? Can't date while still carrying you. Can't move forward because forward requires letting go, and they can't let go. The can't let go is revealed most clearly when trying to be with someone new. When someone new feels like wrong person because they're not you. And not you is everyone, is them facing they made everyone wrong person by losing the right person. Your name is most destructive when they're happy. When something good happens, an instinct is to tell you, to share with you, to celebrate with you, but they can't. Because you're gone, because silence is maintained, because reaching out would break boundary you established. The can't share is devastation, is them realizing you were their person, were who they wanted to share life with, were who made good things better through sharing. And not having you to share with is good things feeling incomplete, feeling hollow, feeling less good than they should feel because person they want to share with isn't available to be shared with. The diminished joy through your absence is them learning what they lost. Learning through every good moment that becomes less good moment. Learning through accumulation of incomplete celebrations. Learning through months of good things that don't feel as good as they should because you're not there to make them feel as good as they would feel if you were there. Why your name appearing is both torture and temptation. Your name appearing is torture because it's reminder, constant painful reminder of what they lost, of who they lost, of choice they made, of consequence they're living with. The reminding is reopening wound repeatedly, is making healing impossible because wound never gets time to close before being reopened by next mention. The torture is them being trapped in permanent state of fresh pain, of active loss, of ongoing devastation, and permanent devastation is breaking them, is wearing them down, is making them wonder how long they can sustain being destroyed repeatedly without doing something to stop the destruction. Without reaching out, without breaking the silence, without trying to restore what they destroyed. Your name appearing is temptation because each mention feels like permission. Permission to reach out, permission to break silence, permission to try to restore connection. The permission feeling is them wanting excuse, wanting reason that makes reaching out seem less vulnerable, less scary, less like pursuit. They can tell themselves they're just responding to universe putting your name in front of them constantly, just following obvious signs, just doing what they're meant to do based on how often you're mentioned. The excuse through sign is defense, is them wanting to pursue you while protecting themselves from vulnerability of consciously choosing to pursue you. The defense is cowardice. But cowardice is tempting, is easier than being brave enough to reach out just because they want to reach out without needing cosmic permission. The torture and temptation creates internal war between staying defended and reaching out, between maintaining pride and pursuing you, between protecting themselves from rejection and risking rejection to restore connection. The war is consuming them, is occupying their mental space constantly, is preventing them from being present anywhere because they're always fighting internal battle about whether to contact you. The constant battle is exhausting, is depleting them, is making them unable to function fully because part of them is always engaged in warfare about you, about whether to reach out, about whether your name appearing so often is sign they should, about whether they're being coward by not reaching out or being smart by maintaining boundary you established. The questions are endless, are torturous, are making your name appearing into constant decision point they have to navigate. Constant choice they have to make, constant war they have to wage, and constant warfare is unsustainable. Something will break. Either they'll reach out or they'll build defense strong enough to stop being tempted. Either way, current state of torture and temptation can't last indefinitely. Can only last until something gives. What your name appearing constantly is costing them beyond just emotional pain. Your name appearing is costing them focus. They can't concentrate when your name comes up, can't finish task, can't be present in conversation, can't engage with work. Your name appearing hijacks their attention, takes them out of whatever they were doing and drops them into thinking about you. The hijacking is making them less functional, less productive, less present, less capable. They're half person, half present. Half engaged, the other half is thinking about you, wondering about you, missing you, being destroyed by a reminder of you. The half functioning is affecting everything. Their work suffers, their relationships suffer. Their life suffers because they can't be fully present for their life when they're partially present for your memory. Your name appearing is costing them new connections. They can't connect deeply with new people while still carrying you. Can't be vulnerable with someone new while still attached to you. Can't build something real with someone else while you're still haunting them through constant mentions. The inability to connect while carrying you is them being stuck. Stuck between moving on and going back. Between new life and old loss. The stuck between is preventing them from having either. They don't have you, but they can't have anyone else either, because anyone else is comparison to you, and comparisons to you is everyone failing the comparison. The failing comparison is them staying alone, staying isolated, staying unable to build new connection because old connection is still present through your name being present. Your name appearing is costing them peace. They can't rest, can't have moment of quiet mind. Because your name appearing even in their thoughts is disturbing the peace. Is creating constant low-level anxiety, constant wondering, constant missing, constant regret. The constant emotional activation is exhausting, is preventing them from ever fully resting, from ever being at peace, from ever feeling settled. They're in permanent state of unsettled, of activated, of disturbed, and permanent disturbance is breaking them slowly, is wearing them down, is depleting their capacity to handle anything else, because their emotional resources are constantly being spent on managing their reaction to your name appearing everywhere. How they're trying to control the mentions of your name and why it's failing. They're avoiding places where your name might come up, avoiding mutual friends who might mention you, avoiding locations you frequented together, avoiding topics that might lead to you being referenced. The avoidance strategy is them trying to create life where your name doesn't appear, where reminders don't happen, where they can exist without being constantly destroyed by mentions of you. But avoidance is failing. Failing because your influence is too widespread, too integrated into their life, too woven into their social circle, their interests, their city. They can't avoid everything connected to you without avoiding their entire life. Can't cut off every person who might mention you without becoming completely isolated. Can't eliminate every place with memories without never leaving their home. The impossibility of complete avoidance is teaching them they can't control this. Can't manage it through avoidance. Can't create life free from your name because your name is too integrated into the life they built while you were in it. They're also trying to control their reaction when your name comes up, trying to school their face into neutrality, trying to keep their voice steady, trying to respond casually when inside they're screaming. The controlled reaction is performance, is them managing external while internal is chaos. Managing external is exhausting, is them constantly monitoring themselves, constantly watching their own reactions, constantly performing unbothered while being completely bothered. The exhaustion of constant performance is breaking them, is making every social interaction a minefield, every conversation a potential trigger, every mention of your name a test they have to pass by performing well enough that no one notices they're dying inside. The constant testing through performance is unsustainable, is them being unable to relax, ever, unable to just exist, unable to be authentic because authentic would be them falling apart every time your name is mentioned, and falling apart is vulnerability they can't allow themselves. Some are trying to speak your name themselves, trying to desensitize, trying to make your name normal through repetition, mentioning you casually, bringing you up in conversation, forcing themselves to say your name until saying it doesn't hurt. The exposure therapy approach is brave, is them trying to face the pain instead of avoid it. But it's failing because saying your name isn't the problem. Saying your name while you're gone is the problem. Saying your name while knowing they can't have you is the problem. Saying your name while carrying regret is the problem. The problem isn't the name itself. The problem is what the name represents. And representing loss and regret can't be desensitized through repetition, can only be processed through actually grieving the loss, actually facing the regret, actually doing work of integrating what happened. And work isn't being done. Just repetition, just exposure, just saying your name and hoping it stops hurting. But it doesn't stop hurting, keeps hurting the same amount every time. Because pain isn't about the word. Pain is about what the word represents, and representation doesn't change through exposure. only through transformation. The ways your name appearing is changing how they see the world. They're seeing signs everywhere. Not just your name, but everything seems meaningful. Every coincidence seems significant. Every random occurrence seems like message. The seeing signs is them trying to make meaning from randomness, trying to find pattern in chaos, trying to believe universe is communicating with them about you. The belief in signs is both hope and delusion. Hope that universe is telling them something about whether they should reach out. Delusion that randomness is actually meaning, that coincidence is actually connection, that your name appearing is actually cosmic communication rather than just natural result of you having existed meaningfully in life that continues. The mixing hope and delusion is them being unable to accept randomness, unable to accept that life just continues, that your name appears because you mattered, not because universe is sending messages, that coincidence is just coincidence. But accepting randomness is accepting lack of control, is accepting they have to make choices without cosmic permission, have to decide whether to reach out based on their own courage, not based on signs telling them to reach out. And making choice from courage is scarier than following signs. So they see signs, create meaning, interpreting randomness as message. The interpretation protects them from responsibility while allowing them to hope universe is pushing them towards you. They're also becoming superstitious, believing if your name comes up certain number of times it means something, believing if they see you in specific place it's fate, believing if mutual friend mentions you at specific moment it's sign. The superstition is defense against uncertainty, against not knowing whether they should reach out, against having to make decision without certainty about outcome. Superstition gives them framework, gives them rules, gives them way to interpret chaos. The framework is false but comforting, is them feeling like they have system for understanding what your name appearing means, have method for determining whether to reach out, have structure for managing uncertainty. But structure through superstition is magical thinking, is them regressing to childhood belief that world operates on rules they can decipher, that patterns they perceive are patterns that exist, that meaning they create is meaning that's real. The regression is them being overwhelmed, being unable to handle adult uncertainty, being unable to sit with not knowing, needing rules even if rules are made up, needing meaning even if meaning is invented, needing structure even if structure is delusion. The need is making them create elaborate systems for interpreting your name appearing, systems that give them sense of control that's false, sense of understanding that's invented, sense of cosmic guidance that's their own hope projected onto randomness. Your name appearing is making them see you everywhere. Not just name, but reminders of you, person who looks like you, person who laughs like you, person who moves like you. Every stranger is potentially you. Every crowd might contain you. Every public place might be where they finally see you again. The constant scanning for you is hypervigilance, is their nervous system staying activated, staying alert, staying ready for possibility of seeing you. The hypervigilance is exhausting, is them never being able to relax in public, never being able to just exist without part of them watching for you, watching for chance encounter, watching for moment when your name appearing becomes you appearing. The watching is hope and fear mixed. Hope they'll see you, fear about what they'll do if they see you, fear they'll freeze, fear they'll say wrong thing, fear seeing you will make everything worse instead of better. The mixed hope and fear is keeping them activated constantly, is making every public outing into potential encounter, into possibility, into hope and dread combined, and combined hope and dread is unsustainable emotional state, is them being simultaneously drawn to and terrified of public spaces, wanting to be where they might see you, not wanting to be caught unprepared when they do see you. The contradiction is making them avoid and seek simultaneously, making them torn between wanting encounter and fearing encounter, making them unstable because they don't know what they want, and wanting contradictory things is definition of internal conflict that has no resolution. What happens when they finally see you after your name has been haunting them? When they finally see you in person after months of your name haunting them, reality collides with imagination. They've been imagining you, creating version of you in their mind through memories, through idealization, through longing. But real you is different from imagined you. Real you has moved on, has changed, has grown, has become more yourself. Without them, the difference between imagined and real is devastating. Is them facing they've been missing person who doesn't exist anymore. Missing memory, missing version of you that was true when you were together but isn't true anymore. The discovering they've been missing ghost is disorienting. Is them having to grieve twice, Once for losing you when you left. Again, for losing imagined you when confronted with real you who's different. Seeing you might also confirm you're thriving. They've heard you're doing well, heard your name comes up with mentions of success, happiness, growth. But seeing is different from hearing. Seeing you actually happy is evidence, is proof, is undeniable truth that you're better without them. The proof destroys their secret hope that you were just performing being fine, that underneath you were suffering like they're suffering, that you missed them like they miss you. But seeing you thriving destroys that hope, shows clearly you're genuinely fine, genuinely happy, genuinely better off. The destruction of hope is specific devastation, is them facing their mourning alone, suffering alone, stuck alone. While you're free, happy, thriving, the contrast between their state and your state is humbling, is them seeing clearly the impact of patterns. Their patterns kept them stuck. Your boundary helped you thrive. Their defended state created their suffering. Your self-protection created your growth. The contrast is evidence, is proof their approach doesn't work, and your approach does. Is them seeing clearly what they lost by being unable to be like you, unable to protect themselves, unable to choose themselves, unable to do what would have served them. Seeing you might trigger pursuit impulse to reach out, right then, to say something, to make contact, to break the silence that's being maintained. The impulse is strong, is their attachment system activating through proximity, through seeing you physically present, but most don't act on impulse. Most freeze, most watch you from distance, most let moment pass without approaching. The not approaching is regret that's instant, is them watching opportunity walk away. Is them being too defended to seize moment, is them being too scared to be vulnerable even when universe gave them chance. The instant regret is added to existing regret. Is them regretting losing you originally, plus regretting not pursuing you when opportunity presented. The layered regret is heaviness that's accumulating, is them building catalogue of moments they didn't act, of opportunities they missed, of times defended state prevented them from doing what they wanted to do. The catalogue is evidence, is proof their defended state isn't protecting them, is costing them, is creating regret through inaction, is making them suffer through preventing them from pursuing what they want. And suffering through inaction is worse than suffering through rejection would be. Rejection would at least be answer, would be closure, would be knowing. But inaction is wondering forever what would have happened if they'd been brave. And wondering forever is torture that has no resolution. Why your name continuing to appear is the consequence they unknowingly needed. Your name appearing constantly is keeping you present, keeping loss fresh, keeping consequence active. The constant consequence is preventing them from minimizing, from forgetting, from moving on without learning. Most consequences fade with time. Fade enough that lesson isn't learned. Fade enough that patterns continue. But your name appearing is consequence that doesn't fade, that stays active. That keeps teaching. The ongoing teaching is gift, is them being forced to sit with what they lost, to face what their patterns cost, to remember every day what rejection created. The remembering through your name appearing is them being unable to escape the teaching, unable to avoid the lesson, unable to minimize the loss. And unable to minimize might be what drives change, might be what finally makes them face patterns, might be what pushes them to therapy, might be what creates enough pain that change becomes necessary, or might just be permanent suffering they endure without transforming. But possibility exists. Possibility that constant reminder creates enough discomfort to drive growth. And possibility is more than they'd have if your name faded from their life completely. Your name appearing is also preventing them from rewriting history, from creating narrative where you weren't important, where relationship wasn't significant. Where loss doesn't matter, the constant mentions are keeping truth present. Truth that you mattered. That relationship was real. That loss is significant. The truth maintenance is preventing defensive rewriting that would protect them from pain while preventing learning. Defensive rewrites create false narratives. Narratives where patterns weren't a problem, where you were wrong for them, where ending was right choice. But your name appearing constantly is making defensive rewrites impossible, is keeping real narrative present, is forcing them to face truth that you were right for them, that ending was wrong choice, that their patterns cost them someone rare. The forced truth facing is discomfort that's necessary, that's appropriate. That's exactly what should be happening to someone whose patterns cost them someone important. And appropriate consequence is justice. Is universe being just? Is them experiencing what they should experience? Is consequence fitting the action? is them learning through ongoing reminder what one-time consequence might not have taught them. Your name appearing is teaching them they can't control everything. Can't control when they hear your name, can't control who mentions you, can't control recommendations that reference you, can't control coincidences that connect to you. The can't control is lesson in limitation, in humanness. In fact, that defended state doesn't give them power over reality, over randomness, over life continuing. The lesson is humbling, is them facing limits, facing they're not as powerful as they thought, not as controlled as they believed, not as able to manage everything as their defended state promised they'd be. The humbling is breaking defended identity, is showing them defended state is lie, doesn't give them control, doesn't protect them from pain, doesn't make them invulnerable, just makes them defended while suffering, defended while powerless, defended while being destroyed by your name appearing everywhere. And defended while destroyed is evidence that defense doesn't work, that patterns don't protect, that their approach to life creates suffering they were trying to avoid, and that evidence is gift, is truth they need, is teaching that might drive change. And change is what they need. What they've always needed. What your name appearing constantly is maybe possibly hopefully creating conditions for them to finally pursue.